Hello everyone and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 29th of April 2024. This is the point of the month where I say, oh my word, where does the time go? And we are almost at the end of April, of course the end of April being tomorrow, and then we're into May, which is the final month of season 2023-24. Where does the time go? It's Gary here again. Thanks very much for joining me. Well, after a week of football, I guess you could say it's a week of football since there was only the one game. The only change that we really experienced was the fact that we have just one less game to claw back, and I'm somewhat happy that it's literally status quo because every single goal is crucial right now. After our game yesterday, I'd said to a few folks on different chats I'm part of, let's hope they don't win by too many and make goal difference be the thing that could make us cringe at the end of the season if we were to win out. And the games are, of course, running out with only the 4 games left and then the Scottish Cup final left to play for this season. And all the games are difficult now too, of course. We have the home game against Kilmarnock this coming weekend, then we're away to the Beasts from the East in the following week, and then we're at home to Dundee, then we're away to Hearts. I think, quite honestly, and I don't mean to sound defeatist when I say this, but I think it's great to be genuinely competing at this stage of the season, at the business end of the season, and still be, as I've said over the last couple of shows here, still within a realistic shout of the treble. And we can't ask for more. Obviously we could if we would have won the Europa League, but we're in a good spot. It hasn't been very often after the split, or leading up to the split even, actually, in recent seasons, if you take away 55, that we've actually been in this position. Obviously we go in on a little bit of a downer because of some of the horrendous league results that we had over the last wee while, but it's not as bad as it's been, so we could end up with the treble, we could end up with a cup double, or we could end up with just a League Cup for this season. And it's going to be a very, very interesting month that we're just leading into here, and quite truly, folks, we don't have any clue how it's going to pan out, do we? Because we know what our team's capable of on a great day, and we know what we're capable of on one of our stink bomb days, and it doesn't seem to be too different on the other side of the city. So you never know what's going to happen over the next wee while here. That's what makes it very, very exciting to be a sports fan, and even more exciting to be a Rangers fan, especially right now. So on to the game segment. Just a one game last week, as I mentioned there, and that was Sunday's 2-1 victory in the most beautiful town in Europe. Are you allowed to even say in Europe now since Brexit? I'm not 100% sure, but let's just say that anyway. And that was in Paisley, of course, and that came courtesy of a James Bolton own goal and then a terrific goal by CD9, Mr. Cyril Dessers himself. And, it was a bit of a slog to watch, wasn't it? And I think that's just what we've got with this team. We had that purple patch where everything was just fantastic for so long under Clement, but we're just up and down like a yo-yo now, aren't we? And that's just, I think, as I said earlier, that's the way that it's going to be. The game was kind of played at a pace, especially in the first half, or most of the first half, that we just seemed to struggle with. And we almost gifted him a goal right at the very start of the game. When Tav, obviously not learning from what he did in the very first minute of the Old Firm game, was just too laboured on the ball in defence, and then it took a super Jack Butland save to keep it at 0-0. I think that was maybe like the first or second minute, something like that. And I don't really know what to say about this particular game overall. I don't think really truly we've enjoyed a flowing football game in Paisley the entire season, and so it wasn't unreasonable to think that this one was going to be any different, and it kind of turned out that way. It was a lot of kicking, a lot of rushing, a lot of hassling, a lot of harrying from them primarily, and basically us reacting to them for what seemed like most of the game, certainly the first half for sure. And this energetic rushing at Rangers, that's something that we have to fix for next time, because we've been undone from the folks from the East End for a number of seasons with that situation, and it seemed like St Mirren coming fresh from having not played for about 2 or 3 weeks before that, to a situation where they had a lot more energy than we did in the beginning, and we just have that kind of mental freezing that we get, where we just don't know what to do, and then we kind of start to panic, and then we start to put it back, and then we're just misplacing passes and such. Not a great game to watch. I feel similarly about games in Paisley as I do about games against Livingston. There's that element of, I don't think we're going to get anything special here today, just win the game and let's move on, and that's exactly what we did. So on the positives, of course, the result, the fact that we get the 3 points, and Cyril Desser's 20th goal of the season from an absolutely brilliant ball from James Tavernier. Tav gives us almost everything in one game, doesn't he? He gives us some hair-raising moments at the back. I don't understand why we don't get a right back in and put him into midfield and have him, contribute with the attacking prowess that he has, and not be so much of a bomb scare at times at the back. But maybe that's something for the future. And and another positive thing here, as I mentioned last week, as much of a downer as the Dundee game was, and the result, of course, because we were hoping to get the points there to still make it mathematically in our hands to win the championship, that Dundee point might become crucial at the end of the season. That's what I said last week, and I feel the very same for the 3 points that we got now. And Philippe Clement kind of mentioned that somewhat. He mentioned people aren't going to talk about this game at the end of the season. We got the 3 points. They're going to talk about some of the other more entertaining games, some of the other scores where the score matched the performance in terms of good scores matching good performances, that is. And another positive, St Mirren came out flying, and fair play to them for that, and we did weather the storm. We did, of course, and I thought, honestly, Jack Butland was absolutely brilliant. The whole game, literally the whole game from the beginning to the end. And that's just testimony as to why he's by far the best keeper in the country by a mile. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't get the accolades for Player of the Year overall. Negatives, as I mentioned, it wasn't great to watch, was it? We were very, very slow and pedestrian, and I think that's obviously part of the game plan. It seems to be part of the game plan, and it's certainly, with that slowness and build-up and intentionality, it kind of normally doesn't work, and it feels then like it's a little bit lazy. It feels like it's a little bit lethargic, but I think it's by design. I'm just not scientific enough to know the sweet science of Philippe Clement's playing style and what the players can actually do to implement that. And then the second goal came from that kind of very slow build-up. The ball's not even out of our half. They talked about it on the commentary team on RTV, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang, ball up to Tav, great ball in, goal. So, I mean, who am I to say? But just sometimes it can be construed as a little bit of a lack of effort, a little bit of disinterest. I don't think it's that case at all, but some of the body language, some of the absolute deliberateness of slowing the play down it gets quite frustrating, especially at this end of the season when we're somewhat in chasing mode. And I personally was back to feeling very, very nervous every time they attacked. I think I said last week or maybe the week before that I didn't have that. I didn't have that for the Dundee game for sure. I didn't. I thought we controlled it pretty well. We just didn't create anything. We're too panicky in attack. But every time St Mirren attacked, it felt like they had a really, really good chance to get the goal. And then their goal they were lost from a negatives point of view was very, very poor. We've got a centre-back that we've brought in to replace another centre-back who's not playing so great, and our captain there, and neither of the two of them got anywhere close to the guy for the equaliser. Fair play to him, by the way, very good finish. It was going to take that sort of finish to beat Jack Butland on the day, but just the defending was just awful, absolutely awful, and it just felt overall we weren't overly assured in any area of the field for the entire game. And kind of despite what the stats say, and I'll get to them in just a second here, I didn't think we really imposed ourselves on the game as much as we could have, as much as we should have. Of course, the scoreline could and should have been a wee bit more at the end there when we had that breakaway, and Tom Lawrence did everything absolutely right. And then that their defender, who I thought actually had quite a good game, to be honest, although he kind of ran about headless chicken style, but He came back and just did a wonder clearance, and that would have made the last 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it was left, a wee bit less nervy, because they had a great chance at the end. Of course, that just was blocked, thankfully, and we got it cleared away there. And the last negative, I think I would maybe mention, is the injury to Borna Barisic. That just seems to be the way that his Rangers career is going to end. He gets an opportunity to start, and we're kind of like, oh, that's different. I wasn't expecting that. And then he just doesn't seem to be able to last the full game. And I hope it's nothing serious for Borna. I do really appreciate his time and tenure with us and everything that he's done overall. And he's just kind of limping towards the exit here, which is too bad. That said, I thought he actually played quite well yesterday. In terms of the stats, 67% possession. We had 15 shots on goal with 6 on target. And they had 8 shots on goal with 5 on target. So they had almost half the amount of shots on goal and had almost the exact same amount on target as we did. Read from that what you will, but they were certainly up for it. In terms of the referee watch, I thought Nick Walsh did okay. Actually, he's kind of up and down with us. More so, I'm always on the side of, I quite like him. I think he does his best. He's fairly even with the teams for the most part. Not every single game, of course. But then he just had an absolute nightmare at the end when Jack Butland comes out and then has a challenge, clears the ball away. The guy runs into him, and then Walsh, and he runs the other way. He sees it. You see from a TV angle, he looks at it and he runs the other way, and then something happens. And this is like the 85th minute, right outside their box, of course. Looks at it, starts running away, and then something happened. I have to assume it was VAR. Says something into his ear and then gives a foul and gives a booking right outside the area. When we're trying to hold on to this lead, I wouldn't say we were holding on for dear life, but we're still holding on. It's only 1 goal of a lead, and I think that's just like a what are you doing, Nick, sort of thing for that one, because it was just absolutely incredible. And I'm hoping, I don't know if you're actually allowed to appeal a yellow card. I can't remember. I feel like you can, but maybe you can't. But if you can, I think we should be appealing that yellow card, because that was a disaster of a decision there. But back to what I've been saying the last couple of weeks, that was our only booking of the game, and we're not getting bookings. And I can't help but feel in some way that that's a thing. It's a symptom. It's a sign. It's something that our bookings have dramatically decreased, which in general terms should be a positive, that we're not going into stupid tackles or challenges. We're not getting ourselves into a position where we have to make a professional foul to break things down and things like that. But, our results and our bookings are kind of going down at the same time, albeit we did win this game, of course. But I just mentioned that again. I don't know if it's a thing or not, but it's something that I just think is a bit of an eyebrow raiser. But anyway, back to the referee watch. He did all right, but that one was a terrible decision, on live camera, and for that he's going to get a 5 out of 10, because that could have been very, very costly for us. Thankfully, it wasn't. As I mentioned earlier, so just a 1 game this week, and it's all league business until Scottish Cup final time, of course, and this one is at home to Kilmarnock. And that's on Sunday with an 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kick-off. And I can't remember the results when we played Killie this week, and I don't have them prepared on my notes. But suffice to say, Killie are having a very good season, and their form of late is very, very good as well. So I'm hopeful that we have enough at Ibrox. It's our last weekend game at Ibrox, albeit with a bit of an odd time, 1 p.m. UK time, and we just need to go. I mean, the ideal scenario is that we go and we play very well against them, and we get some goals back. We're 5 goals behind, of course, and give ourselves an opportunity to move forward in a position of strength for the rest of the season. But I think it's another one of these, just win the game and see where it goes from there. In terms of RTV for last week, I didn't hear of anything other than London Rangers Supporters Club had an issue around about 20 minutes into the game yesterday, and they did a reboot or some other finicky finagling, and they managed to get the game on. So Have to assume that was a local issue and didn't hear of anything else. On the shout-outs, actually quite a few this week, most of them coming from the Rangers side after a period of quite quietness, it felt like. But I'll start off with a belated happy birthday message to NARSA Secretary Sandra Hawthorne, whose birthday she celebrated last Tuesday, I believe. And this is how good of a pal I am. I don't have her birthday saved in my phone, or I didn't have my birthday saved in her phone until last week, and it was only until the messages started coming through that I realised, and I thought, oh, that's too bad. I could have wished her a happy birthday last Monday instead. But belated happy birthday to Sandra, and thank you very much again for everything that you do. Just a wee bit of a Brotherston update. I mentioned Tommy Brotherston had a bit of a eventful trip back home to see the Old Firm game, and then he got hospitalised after that. He now reached out, and he is now safely back in Canada. In fact, him and Willie Smith from Niagara True Blues had both reached out to let me know that he was back in Canada. He's safe and sound, and he's on the road to recovery there as well, or certainly not in as bad a condition as he was in the hospital. So that's great news to hear. Congratulations and well done, Tommy, and thanks for letting us know. And then we'll move attentions here to the Rangers, the Rangers world, and the women's team had an exceptional weekend, didn't they? When I seen the result initially, running out 2-0 winners in the Women's Scottish Cup semi-final, when I seen the result 2-0, I thought, that's brilliant. I didn't realise until I watched the highlights that the two goals were, very late. I think it was like 87 and 90 minutes, or 83 and 90 minutes, or something like that. But very, late in the game, and that's a brilliant result. You don't see those margins between the top teams in that division. So to run out winners, and then I did watch the interview. I actually posted it on the NARSA communication group with Jo Potter afterwards, and she said we were dominant from the beginning to the end. It's no less than we deserve. So brilliant result there. So going to the Scottish Cup final now, and they are too, like us, and with a chance of winning the treble. So hopefully that this is one of these turning points in the season where they can start to maybe get themselves back, and they don't have too long to wait, of course, because they're going to be playing Hearts this Wednesday and then playing Celtic again next Monday. So Monday's quite an odd one, isn't it? Monday is I think it's actually Monday afternoon as well. I don't know if that's maybe a holiday back home or something like that. So it's an odd time. I think it's noon UK time. Anyway, then it's Glasgow City, then it's Hibs, then it's Partick. So a lot of tough games in their way, but they are in control. If they win all other games between now and the end of the season, they're going to be champions, and they're going to be treble winners at the same time. So here's hoping that happens. And then we have some Player of the Year award information. So you'll probably know that Rangers had their own internal club Player of the Year awards last night, and then that on the back of that came the PFA Scotland Team of the Year announcement, and then the PFA Player of the Year award stuff as well. So this might not be in exact order, but I'll just go through it the way that I have it listed on my notes here. The Player of the Year award for the club, the Sam English Bowl, which is for the top scorer, is given to James Tavernier. I think he's on 24 goals right now, and with 5 games to play. I mean, who's to say he's actually going to be? I mean, the way Cyril Dessers is scoring goals, you never know, he might end up creeping up and maybe overtaking. But I guess it's a point in time. You have to put a line in the sand somewhere. So the Sam English Bowl goes to James Tavernier. Goal of the season went to Rabbi Matondo for that screamer in injury time against the mob from the East End. The John Gregg Achievement Award, which is for outstanding commitment and dedication to the club, which is selected by John Gregg himself, was awarded to Connor Goldson. And I did see some stuff online last night where folks were being very disrespectful, being pretty bloody rude, to be very honest, about Connor Goldson. The guy's having a dip in form. I mean, that's it. He's not trying to play badly. He's not trying to scupper the team. He's not some sort of, hoodlum in disguise that's trying to just break things from the inside. He just had a dip in form. The guy's been almost an ever-present for us in the time that he's been with us, and I think that's why he got selected for the award, not just because everybody wants to pick him up or an opportunity to just slam him as we go forward. So if you said something mean online last night, get a grip and maybe look at things from a little bit of a more generous viewpoint in the future. The Women's Player of the Year was Kirsty McLean, and I think this was there's two. There's like the players player, then the fans voted player. So I think the players player was Kirsty McLean, who had quite the week, by the way. And she's only 19. And then the fans player of the year was given to Mia McCauley, who's only 17. So that bodes really well for the future for the Rangers women's team. The men's player of the year was Super Jack Butland. Of course, he won both the players player and the fans player, and you'll get to see the other rewards. I'm not going to go through everything. I'll put the article link on the blurb for today's pod when we get that sent out, and then. Let's go back now. So then the PFA Scotland team of the year was announced, and we have on the men's side we have three players that have been nominated into the team of the year, and that's Super Jack Butland, Captain Fantastic, James Tavernier, and John Lundstrom, who's been a wee bit much maligned of late, but still is putting a tremendous effort for us in this particular season. Played a lot of games and contributed a lot to the season. On the women's side, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got Nicola Docherty, Kirsty McLean, Rachel Rowe, and Rio Hardy nominated to the team of the year on the women's side. And then the PFA Player of the Year Awards came out, and we have two nominations on the men's side, and that's Captain Fantastic, James Tavernier, and Super Jack Butland. On the young player side, we have Ross McCausland. I think he must be in with a real good chance of that. And on the women's side, we have Kirsty McLean and Rachel Rowe for the main award. On the young player, we also have Kirsty McLean, so nominated on both, and Mia McCauley. And then for goals of the season, we've got James Tavernier for his goal against St Mirren. I honestly can't remember that one for right now as I'm recording. And then Rabbi Matondo for the screamer against them a couple of weeks back. So yeah, some pretty exciting times of the season, and great to see the recognition, especially the more public, not just the internal, the more public recognition of the strength of the squad that we have and the contributors that are making their mark for the season for us. There was also a really nice article on the Rangers website. Again, I'll put a link to that in the blurb for the pod today, so you can get a chance to read it. And it was commemorating 10 years since the passing of Sandy Jardine, and it goes into a lot of depth and detail about his journey with Rangers, and the changing of positions and how he did do, and the players he played with, and it kind of ends with a video there of Ali McCoy's talking about his friendship and his companionship with Sandy Jardine as well. Really, really nice piece. So congratulations, thank you, and well done to the communications folks for putting that one together. And lastly, on the Rangers side, for the shout outs, and this maybe could have come under the communications section, I suppose, but the minutes have been published for the CEO Fans Forum from, what would that be, a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. And you go in, again, I'll put a link directly to that site. You can go in and read the minutes. Quite long, but a whole bunch of questions posed there. It's a wee bit historical now, because we know some of the things that have happened since then. One of the major things at the beginning was, for example, the debacle over when are we actually going to play Dundee, and the situation around that. But they go into detail about the various committees that are around, the various works that's happening in the stadium, what's happening with the fans groups and such. And it's a decent read. It won't take you too long. Lots of pages there, but kind of big writing, so it won't take you too long. And the last one that I do on every one of these shout outs, and I will do it until the 19th of July, I guess it will be the Monday before that, whatever that date is the cultural night with the pride of the Birches Accordion Band from Portadown, Northern Ireland, hosted by Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club. That's Friday the 19th of July at 7 p.m. Just a reminder, there's no cover charge, but if you do want to guarantee the fact that you're going to get a table when you get in there, please email tmrsc1998@outlook.com to reserve your spot. And of course, that's going to be held at Gatherings Resto Bar on Sinclair Avenue in Toronto, the home of Toronto Midtown. In terms of the convention update, this is where it gets kind of exciting. I can officially confirm it's 409 days and 58 weeks until we descend upon Kissimmee in Osceola County, Florida, and that's of course going to be June the 12th to the 16th, 2025. As you know, we've confirmed David Edgar as our Master of Ceremonies again for the event. Always does a great job for us, and I did mention last week we are still considering entertainment options specifically or primarily for the Friday evening, and we'll figure that out over the next wee while. And so here's the thing. I think I said last week, maybe even the week before, that we won't be able to have the hotel opened up for sign-ups for a few weeks because they were going through a system upgrade. And then lo and behold, in my inbox in the middle of last week, they sent an email saying, okay, it's open for booking now. And they proved me wrong, and we do indeed have it now. Now, the one thing I'm conscious about is the fact that I haven't actually told you what the hotel is. And we do have a formal joint communication that will formally announce to a wider audience the hotel location tomorrow. But what I can give you today is a sneak peek exclusive, and I can tell you that we are going to, I'm going to explain something in a second. I'm going to tell you the exact name of the hotel, and then I'll tell you a wee story about it. It's called the Omni Orlando at Champions Gate, and that's at 1500 Masters Boulevard, Champions Gate, Florida. And it's the Omni Resort is where we're going, the Omni at Champions Gate. But when I was looking up the hotel yesterday, it says Omni Orlando. And I thought, that's odd. We've been working with Experience Kissimmee to take it to Kissimmee, which is just kind of south of Orlando. It's not actually in Orlando. So I double checked with Experience Kissimmee to say this place is in Kissimmee, isn't it? And they says 100% it is. I think maybe the branding is just, people know Orlando more than they know Kissimmee, so maybe that's a reason. I have no idea. But we are going to the Omni at Champions Gate from June the 12th to the 16th, 2025. There'll be a wee bit more information in tomorrow's announcement. In terms of admin in the background, we have now formally paid the first full deposit for that, so we are within our contractual obligations on that, and we are also working up the NARSA website to have the hotel bookings linked there. You'll be able just to book the link there just when you get there. And I know that Connor is working hard on the website, literally working hard on it as I'm talking right now, because he was doing some stuff on it this morning, and we'll hopefully have that live, I'm hoping, this week. I don't want to put him under too much pressure, but we'll also post that correspondence that goes out to the wider public tomorrow on the website when we get that at the same time. So yeah, exciting week this week. We're going to have a relaunch of the website. We're going to have you with the ability to book your rooms. The rooms they're going to take a deposit for the first night of your room, so that's going to be charged to your credit card. Some hotels do, some hotels don't. This hotel does, so just I want to manage your expectations on that one. And I can tell you folks, if you take a look online at this hotel, it is brilliant. It's absolutely stunning. We've got so much there literally on site. We have the football pitches literally on site, so we don't have to travel anywhere for the football tournament that my team is going to win, obviously. We have 2 championship golf courses on site as well. Not 100% guarantee that we'll be golfing there, but we're going to try and do that if we can, just to make the travel a wee bit more convenient for everyone. And they've also opened a kind of Top Golf sort of thing that's going on down there, and it's this kind of single story bays of golf entertainment and stuff that's going on. Literally just opened last month there, and I think it's called Eagles Ranch or Eagles Nest, something like that. It was actually under construction when we were there last September, so it's great to see it open now. They've got the facilities that we need, folks, and it's a very, very nice hotel. We're going to have an absolutely smashing time there. And another great thing about it is that as part of the contract that we signed, there's also a philanthropic element to it as well that we have, that's basically helping with hunger. And part of the contract, I'm going to just read it out for you here if you don't mind. Join Omni Hotels and Resorts in their partnership to end the plight of hunger. Over 48 million Americans struggle with putting food on the table. Planning an event with Omni now comes with the added opportunity to make a difference. For all group guest rooms booked in the future, regardless of how the reservation is made, the hotel will contribute 1 meal per actualized reservation. So if we take 400 people there, a 400 room booking, they're going to create 400 meals for people in need. I absolutely love that. So what you can expect from a convention perspective is Experience Kissimmee are taking the lead on the first major communication. So you'll see it coming out. They will tag Rangers in it. They will tag NARSA in it. We will then re-tag it, re-share it out everywhere. I will send a note out to our distribution list. That'll probably be tomorrow morning once I have a hold of it. It's due to come out at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. my time, 3 p.m. UK time. So look out for that tomorrow and get a wee bit excited. You won't be able to book it tomorrow. It's just going to confirm that. There's some information in there from the folks at Experience Kissimmee, the folks at Rangers and myself. And then we'll get you the room bookings maybe this week. If not this week, then absolutely next week. But we are good to go. We've done our testing. Everything works as it should. And folks, we have a convention to get organised, so I am pretty bloody excited about that, I have to tell you. On to the communication section, not a lot this week, we're pushing over the 30-minute mark again, and the Gers guide did come out actually in decent time today. So today there is away days for both the St Mirren game yesterday and the Old Firm semi-final. There's also information there, and there's articles or online articles, RTV articles about the Player of the Year roundup from last night. On Tuesday we have the What Sam Lammers Keeps Doing in Holland review. I think the actual name of it's called Loan Review, but he scored again on the weekend. This guy, man, oh man, like what is that all about? And interestingly, such was his impact with us. You know, sometimes we let a player go on loan and then they start playing well and then we're not playing well and then we get all grumpy about the fact we shouldn't have bloody let that guy go. Or we sell someone who was never really good enough for us and he starts doing well elsewhere and we're like, we should never have sold him. Look at the bloody replacement. Look at the state of him. Not one person has said that about Sam. Not one person I've heard anyway has said that about Sam Lammers. We're all just kind of like, all right. Good for him. That's nice. And I hope we get a good transfer fee for him. Poor guy. Just wasn't a good fit here, but I'm so delighted to see him do so well over there. And tomorrow there's also a preview of the Hearts, the women's Hearts game on Wednesday, which is also the same day of the Scottish Youth Cup final, which is going to be at Hampden, and that's for Rangers under 18s versus Aberdeen under 18s. So on to Wednesday, of course, Rangers versus Hearts, and that's an 8:10 p.m. UK time kickoff. 8:10, that's an odd time, isn't it? And then the Aberdeen game, the cup final is actually at Hampden, as I mentioned, and it's at 7. I think that's 7:05 p.m, something like that. So that's a kind of bizarre kickoff time as well. And then on Thursday, there's a really good thing on Thursday. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. It's called One Night in May. It's on RTV, and it's the 25th anniversary of us winning the league at Sharkhead. And they're putting together, I don't know what it is, if it's like a wee 5-minute infomercial or a 10-minute documentary or something like that, but there's something exciting coming on Thursday, so please don't miss that. That's going to be really, really good to see that one. On Friday, the press conference for the Kilmarnock game, and then of course on Sunday is the Kilmarnock game itself. The Euro 2024 pool is still a bit of a work in progress. I'll get more information to you when we have that. I just haven't managed to dedicate the time to doing much about that this last wee while. My apologies for that. On the NARSA newsletter, please keep the photographs coming and we'll get information in there. We can highlight, promote your club. If you have any events at your club or any charitable events that you're getting involved with, please let us know and we'll get those into the newsletter for you. And the question from last week was, who was the captain of the Rangers side, either side of John Greig? And the caveat to this is don't Google, of course, and I didn't have to Google because I totally knew the answer to this again, like all the questions that Bobby's been posing to me. But the two captains were Bobby Shearer and Derek Johnston. And you can tune into this week's NARSA newsletter for the question this week. This week's a good one as well. So yeah, really good on that one. But any other content you'd like to see on the NARSA newsletter, please do reach out to Lorraine and we will make that happen if we possibly can. Now, on to the David Holmes book that I've been mentioning for quite a long time. I think I mentioned last week in my summary of, or maybe the week before, in my summary of the surprise weekend for Brian Campbell's 50th birthday, that he was very kind enough to get me a signed copy of David Holmes' book, and I'm delighted to tell you that I finished it. I actually finished it in that must be about 10 days or something. That's a bit of a record for me. I'm not usually a super quick reader. And so got through the book, thoroughly enjoyed it, folks. I really did. It was a brilliant read, very well written. And you could just feel you could still feel the emotion of the day, of the occasion, of what had to be done, how it had to be done, the way it had to be done to raise the standards and the profile and the success, of course, of our great club when it was literally on its knees, not 2012 on its knees, but the kind of almost footballing equivalent of that from back in the kind of late 70s, early 80s. And it's magic. You get quotes from Graham Souness and Terry Butcher and a whole host of other folks as well. Very honest and open book. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. So that said, I'm going to get David Holmes to organise an interview. If not, it depends on his schedule. I haven't reached out to his daughter Lynn just yet, who features quite predominantly in the book. She also worked for the club, and I'll reach out to Lynn, try and get that organised with Mr. Holmes and get that in your ears at some point in May for sure. I can't guarantee exactly when it's going to be, but I'm really, really looking forward to to talking to him. I just didn't want to have the conversation without reading the book, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity now to read the book. So that is definitely guaranteed to be coming soon. Okay, my friends, that will do it. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you very, very, very much for taking the time to listen this week, and please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. And I guess we just see what this week brings. Here's a wee thing. 2 of the 3 managers that we have to face outside little Brenda from the East End are ex-Rangers players. They're and fairly prominent ex-Rangers players, whether you liked them or whether you didn't, and whether you've subsequently liked them or not as they've continued their careers afterwards, doesn't matter. They're still ex-Rangers players, and maybe that's a wee bit of motivation enough for them to say, because if I was talking to them, the question I would ask them is, what would be your preferred outcome for the remainder of the season? If you had to pick who was going to win, who would it be? And I'm fairly certain neither of the 2 of them are going to say that mob from the East End. And if Naismith wants in any way to court favour with Rangers fans for a potential move there at some point in the future, or to be less despised than he has been since he left us, Stephen, this would be the time to really turn it up this weekend at Sharkhead and maybe take it a wee bit easy on the last game of the league season. Just a wee tidbit, food for thought. We're dealing with human beings. Human beings have thoughts, feelings and emotions, and that comes out in their actions. I'm not trying to influence them. Yes, 100% I'm trying to influence them. Until next week, folks, please do take care of yourself and all the very best. Take care now. Bye-bye.